This big ol' guy right here is Nintendo's new Virtual Boy. And since I'm one of the few people that's genuinely excited this thing exists, I figured I'd unbox it with you guys and kind of give you my first thoughts. Now, when I say I'm super excited that this thing exists, it's not so much because I'm stoked to play Virtual Boy games, and more about the fact that I've just never owned a Virtual Boy. And as somebody that collects Nintendo consoles and peripherals, things like that, it's always felt like this giant hole in my collection that I've never been able to fill. So anyway, let's get right into it. As you can see here, we got all these instructions on how to use this bad boy on the back. We have the really surprisingly large box that this guy's encased in. And there's no actual seal on this box, so all we gotta do is pop it open just like that. And here we go. Whoa, okay. This dude is pretty heavy. Just looking at this is pretty rad. So here we have the visor, headpiece, whatever you want to call it, and it feels like really solid quality. It's like that really nice Nintendo plastic we've all come to love. And if you did manage to pick up the GameCube or N64 Nintendo Switch Online controllers, you know that somehow they managed to make the plastic feel the same way. And I don't know what that entails, but Nintendo is very good at it. So long story short, it does feel like a quality product. Put like a little focus tab and these stuff here, which would function on an actual Virtual Boy, but for here, they're just on there for the sake of aesthetics. There's no actual buttons on this device. Here we have the stand, which this guy is supposed to sit on. And we take it out and, oh, okay. And here we have our Virtual Boy, which is the most bizarre Nintendo peripheral that I've ever seen, but there we go. So far, I will say that I'm happy with how this thing looks, just because it does kind of look like an artifact out of the 90s, and I do like that. This is how Nintendo expected you to enjoy 3D gaming back in the mid-90s. Now, at the time of this recording, the games for this device are actually not available in my region until tomorrow. So I'll have to get back to you guys shortly after I've actually had a chance to play what this thing has to offer and tell you what I think of Virtual Boy in 2026. So here we are 24 hours later, and we can see that the Virtual Boy icon is in fact on the Switch. Now, if we go to play it, I know they said you couldn't play these games without having this guy, but oh, wow. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense now why you need this peripheral to play these games, because it is just creating two different images that will only show up correctly if we do insert it into this guy. So, without further ado, and we just rest our Switch right in here. Here we go. Got to be delicate with the baby here. Goes in just like that, and then we click it into place here. That's actually pretty cool. These red lenses are not going to pick up very well on camera at all, but this is where you stick your face. First of all, whoa. I can't describe what this looks like other than really cool. But I can comfortably wear my glasses while looking into this, and that's a major plus for me right there. It's asking me to adjust to 3D, which is honestly making me feel like I'm at the eye doctor right now. So it is very 3D, I will say that. The jarring red visuals do kind of feel like they're burning into my eyeballs right now. Now that I've spent some time with this thing, I can say with certainty that it is pretty rad as a concept, and I definitely see where they were going with this. However, it's very obvious to me why this system did not do so well in the mid-90s, and it's not because people didn't understand it, but it is legitimately disorienting. And I mean, legitimately. There were so many reports of people getting sick and having headaches and all kinds of things back in the day, and that's why this thing kind of almost got taken off store shelves from what I understand, and why it kind of became lost to history. Immediately when I put this thing on, it was like I felt like I was getting sucked into another world, and it feels really cool. Just for reference, I'm not a big VR guy at all. So the entire concept of putting something up on my face always feels slightly disorienting. And I've used Oculuses and things like that before. I've used a PlayStation VR headset. Like, I know what VR feels like, but this is like a different kind of like, whoa. And that might have to do with the fact that your brain is digesting pixel graphics on a 3D plane, and also that it's right in your face. I don't know. Regardless, it just feels off. Very like your brain right away is like, I don't really like this. The first game that I went towards was Wario Land because my first game ever was Mario Land 2. And Wario Land on the Virtual Boy is essentially Mario Land 4 if it ever would have been. It's like the lost game I never got to play. I went and tried it, and it does feel like a Mario Land game. It feels really full-fledged. It's a cool little side-scroller. However, I will say that it does feel like you're at like an unfair disadvantage trying to play it on this headset, simply because it does feel so disorienting. Really cool as a concept, execution mid at best. I spent some time with every game that is on the launch lineup right now. One of which being golf, which is just golf. It's kind of like a Super Nintendo golf simulator, except it feels very bare bones. I'll be honest, I never played any sports games back in the mid-90s, so it might be a full-fledged golf game from that era. I don't know. But in 2026, it's just bare bones tech demo status. Lots of just clicking buttons, really. Wasn't very interested in that. It looked cool. Again, everything on this device looks like a mid-90s pseudo-futuristic fever dream. So to me, it looks cool, but am I going to play that game? Absolutely not. I decided to check out Tetris, and at this point, I'm starting to feel pretty queasy. And I'm thinking, you know, Tetris, I'm familiar with Tetris. This has got to be the most chill, relaxing game on this device, right? I was very wrong, because 3D Tetris is probably the most disorienting game on this. I immediately felt like I was going to be sick, so I only had a chance to play about 10 minutes of that before my brain said, no more. After that, we moved on to Teleboxer, which is a 3D boxing simulator, again from the mid-90s, so it's very strange and bizarre. I kind of see what they were going for with this. It's cool in concept, and I guess back in those days, using the control sticks to kind of put your guard up and whatnot, and then, you know, jab when need be, it's kind of immersive in a funny way. It's extremely difficult. I think that it would be like a fun little party game, you know, but as far as something that you're going to want to sit down and actually play, I don't know. Tech demo status, like imagine a launch title for a game console that comes free with your device, but on this thing, right? Like that's kind of like the vibe it gave me right away. After that, we had to try out Galactic Pinball, which I will say is probably one of the better games on this device right now. It's just pinball in space with really cool 8-bit music and 3D effects. So outside of the constant disorienting feeling, if you can get past that, it's actually super rad. Then we have the Mansion of Ismouth, which is a game that I'm assuming never got ported to the States. I haven't done a deep dive on this particular title here, but the title is still in Japanese, so I'm assuming they just threw it in here because, like, why not? Maybe it was very popular in Japan, I'm not really sure. It's very reminiscent of like the first Shin Megami Tensei game, if you've ever played that. It's one of those first-person games from way before they should have been doing first-person games, where you have very limited movement, except this is a haunted house. I wasn't able to get very far because it kind of just drops you in and expects you to understand what you're doing, which is, I guess, running away from like troll things. The trolls destroyed me pretty quickly, so after that I just kind of moved on. Interesting concept. Not really sure who enjoyed that, but like that was a thing that existed. And last but not least, we have Red Alarm, which was essentially the Star Fox of this console. You would think that this would be the most disorienting of all these titles, but for some reason, maybe it was just the fact that my brain was finally starting to adjust. When I played this game, I actually was really enjoying it, and I felt mildly relaxed, like I was just playing a regular video game. I can definitely see why it made so many people want an actual Star Fox game on this console back in these days. I guess that never came to fruition because this console just wasn't on store shelves for very long. But it is cool. It's like, the graphic wise, you can see that it's kind of like a bare bones skeleton, but it's really neat. Like, just again, as a historical title, it's cool to look back on. Overall, I would say that my thoughts on this device are that it's pretty neat from like a collector's perspective. If you always wanted to see what a Virtual Boy looked like in person, I mean, here you go. I think this is more bizarre now than it was back then because Nintendo didn't have to re-release it like this. I mean, if they wanted to just re-release these games, you would think that they would just put them in 2D format and then offer you the option to order this. But no, you have to play these games in the super jarring 3D that gave people headaches and still will give people headaches today, right? That to me is incredibly interesting. Now for $100 or the other option they have available, which is a $25 cardboard version of this device, would I recommend the Virtual Boy to a friend? I don't know, probably not. I think that this is one of those things that is pure like novelty and joy for somebody like myself that just wanted to experience it for what it was. But for the average gamer, I think this is an easy skip. I will say that overall, the thing that I'm most impressed with is just the build quality of this machine. And again, the fact that Nintendo felt the need to re-release this at all. I mean, they literally could have done anything. And this is just such a Nintendo move to just come out of left field and say, hey guys, guess what? Like, you want to get a headache? Here you go. I feel like that in itself makes this kind of special. I'm not gonna lie, this video has been completely unscripted. So if it just kind of feels like I'm throwing my thoughts at you, that's why. But if you enjoyed the video so far, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And until next time, you guys, I'm gonna see how much Wario Land I can play before I make myself sick.